So, what if we told you that cooking and eating your favorite foods could be the first step in a process to produce sustainable biofuel? Yes, phasing out carbon dioxide emitting fossil fuels and replacing them with renewable energy will be part of the discussions at the UN Climate Change Conference on Thursday. Junwei Sum has more.
In the hot pot-loving Chinese city of Chengdu, thousands of diners a night pack restaurants like this one to savor their favorite dish. Meat and vegetables are cooked in cauldrons of spicy, oily broth. Besides being a delicious soup base, it later becomes the base of something else quite remarkable: jet fuel. The process begins right after customers leave. Leftover broth is poured into a special filter that separates oil from water. The oil from this restaurant and hundreds of others is collected and brought over to a business park on the city's outskirts. That's where local business Jinshang Environmental Protection operates.
Our company collects approximately 300 to 400 tons of waste oil every day, and this is just the amount that one company collects. If you look at the whole Chengdu city, the quantity will be much higher. The annual quantity is approximately 150,000 to 180,000 tons.
From these massive vats, the cooking oil undergoes a refining process that removes any remaining water and impurities. What's left is a mostly clear industrial-grade oil that gets exported to several countries.
Our current clients include several large energy companies like Neste, Shell, BP and Phillips 66, and of course the China National Petroleum Corporation, Sinopec and Hong Kong's Eco-Series.
Those companies further process it to make what's known as sustainable aviation fuel, a replacement for traditional fossil jet fuel. Experts say such renewable fuels emit up to 70% less carbon dioxide than fossil-derived fuels over their life cycle. But some climate advocates argue that production can't be scaled up enough to make a real difference. Still, it's one of many alternative fuels that are being developed to help reduce carbon emissions in transportation and other sectors. Junwei Sum, CGTN.
On Tuesday, the first ever Atlantic flight using 100% sustainable aviation fuel successfully made its way from London to New York. The Virgin Atlantic-operated Boeing Dreamliner was to demonstrate this greener fuel's safety and performance. It did not carry any passengers, or at least fare-paying ones. The Virgin Group founder Richard Branson and the airline's CEO were among those on board.
Nobody thought it was going to be possible ever for long-haul airlines to be able to fly on sustainable aviation fuel. Today we hope to prove the skeptics wrong, prove that it can be done, and once we've done it, we then will turn to the fuel industry and say, if you can supply it, we've proven it can be done. If you supply it, we will use it.
Currently, sustainable aviation fuel accounts for just 1/10 of 1% of all jet fuel. For more on this and the range of alternative fuels that are being developed for transportation and other sectors, Jesse Therien, he's the project manager in Montana for the Yellowstone-Teton Clean Cities. They work to advance alternative fuels in the U.S. states of Idaho, Montana, and Wyoming. Welcome to the show. Good to see you. Thank you. I think I know the answer to this, but why is the development of this alternative fuels so important right now?
Yeah, thanks for having me. There are numerous reasons. I mean, the one at the forefront of everyone's mind is cleaner, cleaning the air, fewer carbon emissions. But there are many other benefits to alternative fuels. The SAF, Sustainable Aviation Fuel, is one of them. It can run cleaner, it burns cleaner, it requires less maintenance on vehicles. There are numerous benefits to alternative fuels.
How much of a difference is it going to make? We said earlier a fraction of folks using it now. Obviously, the hope is that more use it later, but how much of a difference, or how much can we close that gap in the coming years, and how will we do it?
Well, as mentioned in the previous segment there, I think I overheard them say it reduces emissions by about 70%, life cycle emissions compared to petroleum products. So that's true, and as it stands in the U.S., the demand is outstripping, the demand is outstripping the supply. So they can't produce enough. I was actually on a call today with our state's refinery. They've just revamped some things, and they're going to increase their production in the coming years. But all of the fuel is being consumed, so they can't keep up. So it'll all be consumed, and it's just part of the solution to reducing our emissions with transportation.
What's necessary to have more of this is sort of the feedstock or the vegetables or the corn, and there's been a lot of innovation in that particular segment. Walk us through what's necessary to have the foundation so that you can achieve these goals.
So also in the previous segment, they mentioned used cooking oil. That's historically one of the selling points, is that we're taking a waste product to make fuel out of it. But that I don't think there's enough of that to supply the demand. So a lot of the supply of the feedstocks are virgin oils, camelina, canola oil, whatever oils you can come across. Also animal fats from rendering plants. All of these are feedstocks for renewable diesel. They're going to have to start producing more of it if we want to produce a lot more renewable diesel, and some of the oil seed crops can be grown so they don't compete so much with food production.
Right. I mean, I was thinking now you've got two groups of folks trying to use up these same resources, and then ultimately that ends up the cost, right? The cost of making it, the cost of distributing it, the cost of selling it. I think I read somewhere it was like 6, 7, 8 times more than the price of, in jet fuel's case, the price of just jet fuel. I mean, the cost has got to come down if you want the mass markets to use these alternative fuels, don't they?
Yeah, I think the quote you got maybe, or where you heard the price, it does vary quite a bit, and a lot of that's driven by the low carbon fuel standards in places like California. So they are subsidizing the fuel. So if we want to buy it here in Montana, for example, we have to meet that subsidy. So we're paying about $1 premium for a renewable product versus a petroleum product. Now, if you blend that 50-50, you're paying 50 cents more a gallon. So the cost isn't quite that high. Sustainable aviation fuel, I think, is maybe $3 more than its petroleum-based product, at least in our region. So it's not quite that high, but there is a premium. And I think as more people adopt it and we have more refineries come online, which is happening, that price should come down a little bit.
The regulatory challenges, everyone's for green energy. I think the issue is, how do we get there? And we've spent decades trying to get there. I feel like we're making progress. I mean, we're talking about it. People like you are doing it, but what else needs to be done to get there faster?
So sustainable aviation fuel is very similar to renewable diesel. They're made in the same process at the same time. And I've been pushing a lot of renewable diesel and advocating for that in our region, because it's a drop-in replacement fuel. No infrastructure changes. We're using all the same pumps, all the same transportation, all the same vehicles. So that's an immediate thing that can be done now. The other fuels have other barriers, and it's primarily infrastructure, I think. Vehicles can run on compressed natural gas, propane, electric, all of these things, but the infrastructure needs to be there in order for these to succeed. So that's the big hurdle, but who's going to invest in the expensive infrastructure? In Montana, for example, with electric cars, we lack the infrastructure. You can't drive across our state with an electric car, even if people wanted to. So people aren't going to buy them. So somebody needs to help, and the federal government here in the U.S. is doing that. There are billions of dollars for that specific task.
Yeah, well, hopefully with improved technology, longer battery life, even a big state like yours could possibly benefit from it. But when we look at folks that benefit, it's not just electric cars. I mean, lots of industries use, obviously, electricity. Lots of industries use diesel fuel or unleaded fuel. Who stands to benefit the most in the short term, in the next, say, 1 to 3 years, from this change that we're seeing now?
Anybody who has goals of reducing their carbon footprint and their carbon emissions. Many companies, cities, states, and countries have ambitions of getting to net zero by some certain date. And each fuel plays its part in helping us get there. Not one single fuel is going to do it. And so that's the immediate benefit, is that people can achieve these goals more quickly than waiting for more complicated technologies to come out. All the technology, I think, is there. It's just a matter of implementing it. As far as burning liquid fuels like renewable diesel or sustainable aviation fuel, those working around the vehicles who deal with air pollution, they'll benefit immediately. Congested areas, congested cities that implement this will see reductions in the air pollution for everybody who lives there. So residents will see the immediate benefits of alternative and cleaner fuels.
The investment required in pushing this sort of mission forward, big companies are doing it, medium-sized companies doing it, lots of small companies are doing it, and there's been a ton of startups as well. Is there a particular segment or investment that you think could be a game changer when it comes to investment in this area?
I think, and this is partly what we do, is we advocate and we inform people and tell them about these new technologies. Renewable diesel has been around for over a decade, starting in Finland with Neste, but it hasn't been until the last couple of years that it's actually available. It hasn't been until this year that it's actually available to the public in our state, for example. So I think with the education and making people aware of this simple step they can take, that will drive the production. Technology is there. I mean, we can always improve it, of course, but it's a matter of implementing it that's the big hurdle. And competing with the cost for lower priced petroleum products is the big hurdle. How do we compete with the cheapest fuel that we've ever had?